How's your year going? Can you believe we're almost at the end of 2023? That's nuts. But honestly, did you make much progress in your goals this year, or did you find yourself procrastinating a lot? If you found yourself procrastinating, this video is definitely for you. We're going to be covering all things procrastination and how to overcome it so that you can make your 2024 much more productive. Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Pichardo and I'm a certified transformational coach. On this channel, we talk all about life, health, career, habit change, everything you want to know to get unstuck and grow in your life. So if this sounds like something that you'd be interested in, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and join the family. Procrastination is a topic that comes up a lot during my sessions with clients. It seems to be one of the biggest issues holding them back. In fact, did you know that about 20% of the US adult population and about 50% of the US student population struggles with chronic procrastination? Meaning you, who's watching this, is probably experiencing daily setbacks as a result of your procrastination. These numbers are higher than people diagnosed with clinical depression, phobia, panic attacks, and alcoholism, which means we should we should definitely be creating a lot more resources on this topic. So let's start from the beginning. What is procrastination? Procrastination is an act of unnecessarily postponing decisions or actions. When people typically think of procrastinators, they picture lazy people or people that struggle with time management. But it's so much more than that. It's actually an emotion regulation problem. And an emotion regulation problem is essentially our way of postponing negative moods induced by certain tasks, such as postponing the feeling of boredom, anxiety, insecurity, frustration, resentment, self-doubt. The list goes on. But it's our way of postponing these feelings so that we can avoid suffering in the present. And though I'm sure you know what procrastination looks like, just in case, here are some examples of how it could show up in your life. You may be guilty of browsing social media at work instead of getting started on an important task. Or maybe you've repeatedly put off homework assignments until the night before they're due. I know so many of you, and I'm also guilty of doing this too, want to start a positive habit like dieting, exercising, or saving money, but repeatedly delay it while telling yourself you'll start on Monday. And then there are those who want to create a project or start a business, but waste time looking up inspirational material and unimportant information instead of actually starting. And oh my God, can I tell you how many people I know that fall under this bucket? And I'm here to remind you, there's no better time than now to just start. So why do we procrastinate in the first place if we know that it may lead to disappointment? Most people understand that procrastination will likely hurt them in the long run. But unless you're someone who struggles with ADHD, where executive functioning issues might interfere with completing a task, those who struggle with procrastination need to also understand that this could be a habit that they created themselves. In one of my previous videos, we talk about habits, how they're created, how to break them, and one of the examples I gave on how habits are created was the habit loop. Here's a clip just in case you missed it. One of my favorite books is The Power of Habit, and the author Charles D. Higgs explains this habit loop amazingly. He breaks this process into 3 steps he calls the habit loop. The first is the cue, which is a trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. The second is the routine, which is the physical, mental, or emotional action. And lastly, we have the reward, something that helps the brain figure out if this particular loop is worth remembering for the future. So in this case of procrastination, your reward is momentary relief by delaying the task you need to complete. By repeating this action of procrastination over and over, it starts to become a habit that you're creating. And once you've created this habit, it can become very difficult to break. Now, aside from possibly creating this habit accidentally on your own, there are also other factors outside of our control that may be causing you to procrastinate. Research has shown that there's a strong genetic component to procrastination, which means that the tendency to procrastinate is somewhat hereditary. Research has also shown that on a neural level, we tend to disassociate ourselves with our future self and see them as a stranger. So our brain actually sees the task that we're procrastinating on as someone else's problem. And then we have the amygdala hijack. Amygdala hijack. I always struggle to say that. But what is that? Well, there's a section in our brain called the amygdala, also known as the threat detector. So when you start to think of the task you're procrastinating on and fear or anxiety or anger kicks in, your brain starts to create this association between the two, the task and the feeling. And the amygdala sees this task as a genuine threat. An example of this is you may have a really great business idea, and it's something you've been wanting to do for a really long time, but the idea of getting started is overwhelming and creates anxiety. And you're not used to putting yourself out there, so the thought of presenting this idea creates fear. So you keep putting it off. As these feelings come up while you're thinking of this task, your brain starts to create this association internally. So whenever you think of the business idea, your brain sees this as a genuine threat to your well-being, making you want to procrastinate to protect yourself and making it even harder to break this procrastination habit. And that, folks, is called the amygdala hijack. And it is amazing what our brain is capable of. I don't know if I said this in my imposter syndrome video or my breaking bad habits video, but everything we do has a positive intention, even procrastination. And as you can see in these examples, what is the common denominator? They're all trying to keep you safe. Now, these examples that I just reviewed, I feel like they fall under the bucket of those that are chronic procrastinators. But if you only find yourself procrastinating here and there, not too often, here's a list of other factors that could be influencing you to procrastinate that may be a bit more relatable. First is distractions in your environment. Now, I am not a chronic procrastinator, but I definitely have moments when I procrastinate, and having distractions in my environment is a huge contributor to that. I cannot have too many distractions around me, or I'm not going to get anything done. So be mindful of this if you feel like you're someone who gets distracted easily as well. I typically lock myself in my bedroom, put on some instrumental music, and I just get lost in my project. Second is having a poorly defined goal. This may be hard for you to identify immediately, and especially on your own. So first ask yourself if you're making any progress in your goal. If not, see if your goal is clear and properly defined. If you're unsure on how to create a clear goal, or if your goal is even properly defined, watch this video here. Stay disciplined when working towards your goal. We really get into what a clear goal looks like and what a poorly defined one looks like. So make sure you check out that video if this may be something you think that you're struggling with. Then we have lack of motivation. I also have a video on this one. So if you feel like you don't connect strongly enough to your motivation, make sure you check out this video. Fourth is lack of energy. I promise you, I didn't create this list. I got a lot of it from research that I've been doing throughout the years on this topic, but I have a video for almost all of these. Anyways, energy plays a really big role in completing a task. And if you find yourself struggling with keeping up with energy, watch this video here, which will teach you a simple trick on how to increase your energy and become much more productive. Next is a hate for the task that needs to be done. I don't have a video on this, but I do talk about this in my energy video. Unfortunately, we all got things that we hate to do, but they need to get done. And it's learning how to manage your energy so when the moment comes to complete this task, you have enough energy to just suck it up and get it done quickly. Lastly is overwhelmed with the task needing to be perfect. A lot of us struggle with perfectionism and we don't even know that we have this issue. So I would say if you find yourself sitting on a project that's done, but you've been polishing it off for a long time, you're struggling with perfectionism. If you're someone who won't let anyone help you because no one else can do it the way that you can, and you're constantly feeling burnt out or exhausted, you're struggling with perfectionism. So don't let the idea of perfect get in your way of making progress, because ultimately progress is what we're all looking for. So as you can see, there's several factors that can influence you to procrastinate. But Joseph Ferrari, leading international researcher in the study of procrastination, believes that there are three types of procrastinators, and maybe identifying which one you are can help you figure out which one of these circumstances is influencing you to procrastinate. So we have the thrill seeker, those who crave the rush of putting off tasks until the last minute and believe that they work best under pressure. Then we have the avoiders, those who procrastinate to avoid being judged for how they perform. And lastly, we have the indecisives, those who have difficulty making important or stressful decisions, often because they're considering several choices. So I would say for me, I would fall under the avoiders. As a coach who's building an online presence, I need to put myself out there. And I have to share, why this work means so much to me. And I have to share my journey. And that requires me to be open and vulnerable sometimes. And, and honestly, that can be difficult. But I have to remind myself, and I constantly do remind myself, why I'm doing this work. And that's what helps push me through this procrastination and helps me keep going. If I allowed procrastination to control me, I would never be able to fulfill my dream of helping as many people as I can. And this is why having a very clear, properly defined goal is very important. So, other than the obvious negative side effect of procrastination, delaying your work, it can negatively impact your external world and your internal health. Externally, procrastination can hinder your ability to achieve your goals and live a more fulfilling life. This could then create psychological distress and low life satisfaction, creating symptoms of depression and anxiety. That can easily then lead to poor health behaviors like not getting enough sleep or creating an addiction to the internet, which is a real thing, guys. And this is a great segue to how procrastination could then affect you internally. So internally, chronic procrastination, so these are people who struggle with consistent procrastination, this can lead to chronic high levels of stress, chronic illness, headaches, digestive issues, hypertension and cardiovascular disease, and being more susceptible to the flu and colds. Now, I'm sure you may be thinking that this sounds way too extreme for just simply procrastinating, and I get it. But I want you to take into consideration the behaviors of a procrastinator, specifically a chronic procrastinator. And if you don't know if you're a chronic procrastinator, first think back to all the different factors that we just went through that play into why we procrastinate. That should help give you an understanding if you are one. Second, just ask yourself simply, do you wait last minute to complete everything and never actually start things you really want to do? That means that you're not only a procrastinator, but you're a chronic procrastinator. So if you think of the behaviors of a chronic procrastinator, they wait into the very last minute to get things done, which can create a lot of stress. And if you're chronically procrastinating, you're most likely dealing with chronic stress. And you can check out this video here for side effects on chronic stress. There's a lot. But in addition to that, procrastinators also often delay preventative treatment, like checkups or support from a therapist or a life coach like myself for their mental health issues. So minor issues can snowball into major chronic life-threatening issues like heart disease due to procrastination. Okay, so now that I've scared you enough on how bad procrastination is, don't worry. There's a solution for everything, and we're all about solutioning on this channel. So we're going to go over some solutions in a moment, but first, it's always best to find a personalized solution rather than just a generalized one with anything that you're going through in life. That way you know that you'll actually experience real change because it's made for you. And if you want, I'm always here if you need to help create that personalized solution. So feel free to reach out to me, DM me on Instagram, send me an email, or schedule a complimentary call. I'll have all that information listed below if you are interested. But so that you don't leave here empty-handed, as I said, we're all about solutioning on this channel. here are a few tips on how to work through your procrastination and have a more productive 2024. First is to set a clear goal and understand your why. As I mentioned before, you really want your goals to be clear and properly defined. If you're writing a paper or organizing your closet, clearly state your intentions and why it's important, either out loud or write it down. And if you need more help with goal setting, you can watch this video over here. Second, get curious about your procrastination habit. As you're getting curious, see this as an experiment. Try a few things to understand your habit better and have zero expectations of the outcome. When you're getting curious, you really want to focus on understanding your why you're procrastinating, and try to understand the habit loop so that you can break it. And lastly is to create a plan. Now that you have a clear goal, you understand your why, and you understand your procrastination habit loop, it's time to create a plan. Remember, a goal without a plan is just a dream. So here are a few of my favorite methods that you can use in your plan to tackle your procrastination. First, we have the Pomodoro method. One of my coaching friends taught me this a while ago, and I use it all the time. It's one of my favorite methods to overcome procrastination. So the Pomodoro method is essentially a time management tool. It was created by Francisco Sorello, but I created my own version inspired by his. If you want to learn more about the exact method, I'll make sure to include that link below. So a lot of the times we procrastinate because the thought of doing a task is daunting and overwhelming. So instead of worrying about spending 1 to 2 or even 3 hours working on this task, just set aside 20 minutes. That's it. Don't pressure yourself to do more. The goal is just to get started. But if you're in the groove as you're working, then keep going. And that's the Pomodoro method. It's really, as I said, a time management tool that really helps you separate your task into more manageable chunks. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I love me some Mel Robbins. She's so inspiring. This is a method I got from her, and she also has a book on it, which in all honesty, I haven't read it yet, but I'm planning to read it very soon. But as I mentioned, this is a method I got from her, and I learned about it on her Instagram. So the 5-second rule is very simple. Essentially, the moment you have an instinct to act on the goal or task, you must physically move within 5 seconds and do it. What this method is doing is that it's breaking the pattern between the cue and the routine in the habit loop, and it's rewiring your brain to create a new pattern. Find affirmations that remind you of your why and post it all around you for inspiration and a reminder of why you're working so hard. I love this one. I literally have affirmations all over my wall. I can very easily talk myself out of something or get lost in the challenge or difficulty of completing something because it's not always easy to accomplish goals. So I have affirmations and reminders all around me, and it's what helps keep me going and prevents me from getting stuck. Lastly is to find accountability. It's really easy to read these tips and tricks and watch these how-to videos, but everyone sets goals and not everyone accomplishes them. So make sure that you find the right accountability. Depending on your needs, maybe that's a friend or family member, or a therapist, or a coach like myself. I've helped so many of my clients overcome procrastination habits. As you can see, procrastination can be an emotional handicap, and sometimes it's hard to understand where that's coming from. And that's what I help my clients understand by asking them the right questions that they may not be asking themselves. So, as I mentioned before, if you feel like maybe you need this additional support, I'll have all my information listed below so that you can contact me or so that you can schedule a free one-on-one. And since this video is about procrastination, I'm going to be a bit more pushy here, so don't wait. Do it right now. Scroll to the bottom, send me a DM, schedule a free call. I will be right here waiting. Go ahead. I'm waiting. Okay, guys, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this video was able to help you understand better what procrastination is, what type of procrastination you're struggling with, and how to overcome it so that you can have a much more productive 2024. So thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure that you join the family and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, bye.